Hey, welcome to World Entertainment, and this will be the review for episode 10, the final episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and I will try and keep it as spoiler free as possible. Not that there's much to spoil, but I do have to spoil the end of last week's episode, so if you're not watching the show and you're planning to, I'm afraid this has to get spoiled because there's no way around it. So the end of last week's episode was, of course, wasn't just Kate coming across that weird new titan. It was the fact that she was saved by her grandmother, Keiko. Keiko is still down there, and Keiko still looks exactly how she did when she went down there. And this episode starts off right from there. And Keiko's explaining, these things are very territorial. You have to come with me. Kate wants to do then is Kate starts panicking because she recognizes, obviously, it's her grandmother. She doesn't tell her that she's Kate Randa, she just says she's Kate, and immediately realizes May and Shaw are down there. But Keiko thinks that she's sending a signal up. There was a signal being received at the end of last week's episode as well, through the gamma radiation spikes. And they weren't 100% sure what it is, but Tim has kind of figured out that it's a signal being sent back. Keiko thinks that Kate is a part of a rescue team, that they've picked up her signals. And of course, that's not the case. Up in the real world, basically, we also have, I have to spoil this because I didn't mention this in the last review either. I don't think so anyway. That Kentaro has met up with his father, and his father wants him to join him. They're having a conversation now, and he wants him to join him to help finish the work. But Kentaro basically says he will only if he answers one question, and of course the question was going to be about the two families, and the father doesn't want anything to do with answering that and stuff, so they kind of go their separate ways for a bit. What's happening down then in this world between worlds type of place, we do get explained that it's not actually the Hollow Earth that they are in. They are in basically a universe type thing between both worlds. So they're not fully in the Hollow Earth, they are in between our realm and the Hollow Earth. And Keiko is talking with Kate, and all of a sudden May comes running out and she's delighted, and then we hear Shaw say, "Keiko, is that you?" And when she wants to see him, he's hiding behind a tree, and he's like, no, don't come closer, not yet. And he has to try and break it to her, and he asks her, like, how long do you think you've been down here? And she says 52 days. That she's done the counting, it's 52 days. And he says, well, I was down here too. And she's like, you were down here? And he's like, yeah. My mission was in 1962. And she's going, what are you talking about 1960? It's 1959. It's like, no, it's 19... I already said, no, I came down in 1962. And I got back out, but it was 1982. And then he says, that was 30 years ago. And she's like, wait, and does the math, and it's like, that means it's 2015. And then he comes out from behind the tree, and they have a great moment. All the scenes with these in this episode are great, with Shaw and Keiko. And she brings them back to where she's been staying. She set up she has with her one of the gamma radiation, or the gamma signal ball things. I'm not sure where she got it. It must be the one that came down with Shaw in their mission, because that thing is connected to their dropship yoke. So it must have broke off and ended up over there. But that's where she has this, and where she's sending the signal. And Shaw realizes, hey, can you reconfigure that back to its original setting? And she was like, yeah, why? And he goes, because I think I have a way of getting us out of here. So they're going wandering through this forest, and this is where they have the conversation about the fact that it's not actually the Hollow Earth, that Keiko's, because it looks like Earth, but all the light and stuff is completely different and all that. And of course the time passes different. That's where the conclusion comes to, that it's not the Hollow Earth, it's something in between Earth and the Hollow Earth. Up on the surface, Tim is back at work and he's raging now. He's starting to get angry because Monarch says there's too much going on to start worrying about the signal, that they're trying to prevent another G-Day from happening. And he gets frustrated with Verdugo and saying, like, this clearly is indication that there's someone down there. And she's like, well, we have to try and save 7 billion lives. And he says, what happens if the 3 lives we're leaving down there could be the answer to saving the 7 billion lives? And he says, like, you know, you're kind of proving Shaw right, and maybe he was right, and he says he was definitely right about you. And she says, choose your next words very carefully. Are you about to sit down and work or what? And then we're with Kentaro back in Hong Kong, or Tokyo, sorry, and his father is in the house with them, and he's getting his stuff, he's moving out, and he's obviously starting divorce proceedings because he has another family from Kentaro's, but he's going to go back to San Francisco, he says, to start divorce proceedings there as well. And Kentaro's mother says, like, wherever you end up staying, you know, and whatever you did to me, your son deserves a father, so let him know where you are. And he's like, sure. Down in the Hollow, well, not the Hollow Earth, this world between worlds type of thing, we have a big conversation. They're carrying the thing across and they take a break, and Sean and Keiko have a talk, and, you know, she asks the question of, you know, where's Billy, what happened to Billy? And she asked Shaw that like ages ago when they first meet up again. She says, like, where's Billy? He's like, Billy's gone, he died long ago. So she obviously asked the question, what happened? And he says all he heard was he led an expedition to an island, i.e. Skull Island, and he never came back. He doesn't know what happened to him there, but he says he never came back. But then says, like, he went out a fighter, he saved Monarch. You know, he proved everything right, and he saved Monarch. And then of course she asked the question of what's it like now in 2015, and he starts describing it, but he says the people are pretty much the same. You know, there's conflicts, there's triumphs, there's all this stuff. They go to where he had landed. That's where he's bringing them with the signal, gamma signal thing, and the ship yoke they came down in is still there and it still works. He also clarifies that he was there a week. That's how long he thought he was down in this area, was a week, which of course was the 10 years. And when he turns it on and it works, he's like amazed that it works. And as Keiko says, well, this thing's literally been here for 2 weeks. You know, from her point of view, she's only been there 50 or 75 days, 72 days, whatever it is. That thing has only been there 2 weeks, and he hooks the gamma ray signal thing up to it to turn it on to try and get some Titan to come back through the rift that will open, and they'll get pulled through because there's like a suction kind of thing that happens when the rifts open. Tim quit Monarch, and he finds Kentaro, shows him the whole thing about the signal. They go find the father. The father's watching the video that was played at the very beginning of the whole show of John Goodman as Bill, when he's saying, you know, if you see this video, it means I'm dead, blah, blah, blah. And they go and they start to explain they believe there's a signal, and they're not sure who it is, but it's there. And the father thinks it's a cruel joke, kind of. You know, he thinks they're trying to punish him, but that's not the case. Then when we're back down, like, I should say as well that he's Kentaro's trying to convince him, like, hey, look, you asked me to come and help you. I'm on board, but you have to help us. And he's like, well, Monarch's not going to help us. Tim's like, of course they're not, that's why I quit. But they're not the only players in town. And once we're back down in the world between worlds, I suppose we're going to call it, Shaw, Kate, May and Keiko are setting up the gamma rating, and he's telling Keiko to leave the thing alone. He'll do it now in this minute. And she's kind of like not listening, and he gets angry a bit, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, and she just bursted out, I'm not going back with you. And they're like, what do you mean you're not coming back? And she says, that's not my world anymore, and all this stuff. But Kate convinces her that, yeah, you're coming home, because like these monsters have taken everything from me and my family. The curse ends now, it's broken, you're coming back. So they start summoning a Titan, and Shaw has Kate looking at the radar to see if it's coming. And instead, the big bat thing that killed the original team of Shaw's comes along, and he's like, oh shit, this isn't good. And they're like, what? And he goes, we managed to summon a Titan that's already down here. But while that thing starts flying past them and start disrupting things, Kate picks up a signal of something's coming through, but one of the wires comes out, so the signal starts going because it's going back. And Shaw gets out, and the thing lands, and it's walking towards him, but he's trying to plug the wire back in, and he eventually gets it back in. This thing's standing right, and then we hear it. Godzilla's roar. It's Godzilla coming through the rift. And the big bat thing looks up, and it's kind of like, what the hell? And it starts flying over, and you can hear Godzilla's roar. You can hear his charging up. He emerges, has a fight with the bat thing, rips its wing off. Chaos ensues. They manage to escape. I suppose I'll have to spoil this. I didn't want to, but I'd have to do it, because it kind of, you can't not say this part. While they're trying to escape, the thing's getting dragged along. Shaw's still outside. He's running. He grabs onto it. Keiko's hanging out and grabs him. And he says, it's okay. And thanks her and says, you know, everything's going to be fine. And makes her let go of his hand. And he stays behind. They escape. They get back to the real world. All of a sudden, they're like sitting in like a car park almost. There's these weird things set up, kind of. It seems to have pulled them from the direction they were going in the rift in a different direction. And they're like, do you know where we are? All these people come running up in suits, like these kind of, not radiation suits, but something similar. And Kate nods like, who are you? And then Kentaro comes walking out, and she's like, hey, what's going on? And then the father comes out and sees his mother, and they have an interaction. And then Tim's there, and you hear a voice saying, well, come on, let's get the show on the road. You just need to be debriefed and stuff. And it's the woman who May worked for, who of course is now Apex. And it's an Apex facility you're at. And something starts happening, and it ends pretty much there, but with a massive twist and reveal that I obviously not going to spoil. But that's it. That's the final episode of Monarch. Another great episode. This and the last episode were probably the best episodes in the whole series. Few other really good ones, couple of duds, you know, especially the ones that focus on May. But other than that, I really enjoyed the show in total, you know, especially when you knew what you were getting going into it, that it wasn't a Godzilla show as such. But yes, he is in the last episode, and he kicks ass, he fires his atomic breath and all that stuff. It's cool. So, with that, for the last time for these reviews, I will leave it there for this one. So like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you in the next one.